Good evening. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Texas Southmost College Board District. We have board members present today is Ms. Rosemary Breedlove, Ms. Dalia Zimmerman, Dr. Roberto Robles, Mr. Romandino Esparza, Mr. Eduardo Campirano. Mr. Oliveira is, I believe, running late, and we have Dr. Julia Garcia on the board today, and always, of course. And so at this point, we're going to go to agenda number 1, which is the bond projects report for the board. And there is our Assistant VP for Construction, Ms. Veronica Mendez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, President Garcia. Thank you for allowing me to do this item first on the agenda. I really appreciate it. I'd like to give you an update.
And I just interrupt for just a moment. The reason we have changed the order, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, is because Veronica Mendez is a student at our university as well as an employee, and she has a class and an important presentation that she must make in that class. So with your permission, we ask that she be present first so that she will not miss.
Thank you, and I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
To give you an update on the construction projects, exciting things happening in each project in different stages of the construction phase. Music Education Building, the schematic design for this project was presented to the board at the last meeting. We're currently under design development, and that's where we're actually going to start putting more detail into the design, where we'll start filling in more information about the spaces and also more information about elevations. The Center for Early Childhood Studies is also under design development phase, and that project was also presented to the board at the last month's meeting, and it's under development for that. The classrooms and library projects in the professional zone are currently under schematic design, and we're working diligently to bring those projects to you by the meeting in December for schematic design presentation. The housing project is currently under programming, and we are working with the campus advisory committees, with a lot of students in the committee, working with student affairs and business affairs folks in the program for that facility. We also have done interviews for architects, and you will get a more detailed report during the Student Affairs Partnership Committee meeting report. The Science and Technology Learning Center is currently under programming, and we're working with the different science departments, biology, biomedical research, Rancho del Cielo, pre-med, and in preparing the program for that particular project. We've also received proposals from architectural firms. We received 8 proposals, and we are currently shortlisting those proposals and planning for interview in the next 2 weeks. We also, today was a deadline for construction management and risk proposals for this particular project. So we will be looking at proposals for construction managers and have the team ready to move forward to the next level on that particular project early in the spring. For the iTech campus, we actually have a video. We are under programming for the facility, but there's construction going on in the thermal plant. The thermal plant is a $3.8 million project, and I'm happy to report that you will be looking at the chiller and the cooling tower that are now in operation. New machines working at the thermal plant. We were able to turn them on about 2 weeks ago without any any major difficulties, so that particular system is working well. There is room in that plant for another chiller that size that will be installed early in January. And you can see we are reinforcing the roof structures to allow for another cooling tower just like that one to be placed up on the roof and have a complete system operational by March. We are currently working on deck replacement that you see there and reinforcing the roof for the next cooling tower. Both the chiller and the towers will allow for growth for an additional tower and additional chiller for any future growth on the iTech site. The rec center is under construction, and we have, last week, we just were able to get certification on the building pad. And I know people were asking, why is there nothing going on? There's only dirt moving around. Well, this is the dirt moving stage. So we are, we are getting the pad ready. The building pad is ready and has been certified. And this is the field site, and we are getting that graded. And we are planning to then plant our fields early in the spring.
How did you explain what that means, the pad?
Well, the soil needs to be compacted, and we actually take some bad soil out, bring some good soil in, compact it to a level that will then be able to resist the load that will come with the piers and the weight of the building. And that concludes my reports. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Good luck, Veronica.
Thank you, good luck.
A+ here so far.
I told her we asked her a lot of questions to keep her for about half an hour and run late to the exam. No, we wouldn't do that to you. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.
We now move into an announcement by Dr. Garcia.
I'd like to, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Dr. Hilda Silva, who is going to make some introductions herself.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, this has been an exciting time for athletics. And we think it's important that you get to meet our new coaching staff. And I would like to introduce our athletic director, Dan Huntley, to introduce the coaching staff. And then we are also going to recognize our volleyball team with that great success in our very first NIA competition. Coach Huntley.
Chairman Gonzalez, board members, President Garcia, Dr. Martin. It's my pleasure to stand in front of you tonight and present some of the reasons why I, and I think many other people, are extremely excited about the state of athletics on our campus today. First, I'd like to start with our newest addition to our coaching staff, Bob Lucio. Bob is our men's and women's golf coach. Bob Lucio is synonymous with the sport of golf here in Brownsville. I don't think we could have landed a better coach to help aid our golf teams during the transition into the NAI. Bob has had a tremendous playing career, which started right here at Hannah High School. Bob has been a teaching professional and coach for golfers at every level in the community for the last 19 years. So it makes sense that when we move forward, he's part of the culmination of our golf program, leading our university's teams. He's also being assisted this year by Jesse Lucio, who many of you will know that he was our first head coach on a part-time basis from 1998 until this past summer. This tandem brings very different strengths to our course, and each will have a great impact on the future of our men's and women's golf programs. Next, I would like to introduce our baseball staff. They are all brand new also, starting with head coach Joel Barta. Joel brings his expertise to us from Northland College, which is where I came from, so it must be a good place. And some of the reasons for his hire were his trust and his loyalty, as well as his student-first mentality. Coach Barta has also coached at Mayville State in North Dakota, Hastings College in Nebraska, and played at perennial NAIA baseball power Bellevue University. The last 3 summers, he has been part of the staff of the Wisconsin Woodchucks of the Northwoods League, which is a summer elite collegiate league throughout the Midwest. He has coached and played with over 60 student athletes that have signed professional baseball contracts. He's married. He and his wife Dana have 2 girls, Jamie and Emma. His first assistant is Derek Wattups. Derek also has experience from being a coach and a player at Bellevue University. First as a player, and then the last 2 years as an assistant coach. Derek had a great playing career and was a 4-year captain 2 of those years at Bellevue. He was able to play in the NAI World Series and was awarded the NAI's Champions of Character Award at the World Series. He's also an NAI Academic All-American, and he also coached with Coach Barta this past summer in the Northwoods League with the Wisconsin Woodchucks. I share an accomplishment with Derek that we are both Eagle Scouts. Our volunteer assistant coach is Scott Madsen. He was an NAI All-American shortstop also at Bellevue University. And this past summer, he signed a professional baseball contract with the Chicago White Sox organization. He played rookie ball this past summer in Bristol, Connecticut, and then in Great Falls, Montana. Scott is married to one of our volleyball players, Lindsay Madsen. A side note on that, for those familiar with baseball, Lindsay comes from the Law family. Her grandfather, Vern Law, won the Cy Young Award with the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1960 with a 20-9 record and a 3.09 ERA. Played 16 years in Major League Baseball and won 162 games. Her uncle, Vance, played 11 years in Major League Baseball for 5 different teams. Another side note, Scott is also an Eagle Scout.
Wow.
I'm very excited about the progress of our baseball team that they've made this fall on the field and in the classroom. And I know that the momentum is being built right now is going to transition into winning season this spring. Our last introduction comes on the heel of a very successful inaugural season. Unfortunately, our head coach, Bruce Atkinson, is on the road recruiting for next season, so he could not be here tonight. Bruce was hired this past February and quickly charged ahead to put together a fabulous group of young women that had a great success this past fall. Coach Atkinson came to us after spending 2 years as the head coach at Dana College in Omaha, Nebraska, or Blair, Nebraska. He was also an assistant coach at Merced College in California for 6 years. Bruce, as you might come to expect, is also an Eagle Scout. His assistant is Gavin Rutter. Gavin is in the back. Gavin has been with our program for many years and is a great compliment to Coach Atkinson, and will graduate from our kinesiology program next year. Finally, I'd like to recognize our volleyball team for their success this past season. It's been fantastic to watch and a very time that everyone can be proud. And for me as an athletic director to stand forward in our first year, I couldn't have been more happy. We had an overall record of 27-12. A Red River Athletic Conference record of 10-1 that was good for second place.
Wow.
We won 22 of our last 25 matches, losing those 3 matches to the number 8 ranked team in the nation, Houston Baptist. 3 weeks into the season, we were 6-9. What a transition they made during that time frame. We also finished second in the Red River Athletic Conference tournament and the Houston Baptist tournament. We won the Trinity University tournament and qualified for the NAI National Playoffs, losing in the region semifinals to Houston Baptist. We have many things to be proud of this year: team accomplishments, individual recognition and awards, but the biggest thing for our program this year comes from the support of the board and the administration. If it were not for your support, you would not see the makeup of our team this year. We now have juniors and even seniors. We always look back because our history is very important, but you have allowed us to look forward to greater success and to the first student athletes walking the stage and receiving a bachelor's degree. For that and for your continued support, our volleyball team has assigned volleyball for each of you as a sign of their thanks. As I introduce them, we do have a couple that are gone. They'll come up and present you with a volleyball. Viviana Lozano is a freshman from Brownsville, Texas. Another freshman, Nancy Juma, is from Nairobi, Kenya. Two other freshmen are not with us tonight, Laura Rodriguez from Brownsville and Lauren Bayer from San Antonio. Bridget Longoria, a sophomore from Harlingen, Texas.
looks out better.
Laura Mendoza, a sophomore from McAllen, is also missing tonight. Katie Japp, a sophomore from Omaha, Nebraska.
That's the one we remember when they were spiking the ball.
All right. This is the size I can handle.
One of the two juniors that remained with our program this past year, Joanna Knight from Denton, Texas. The other junior that remained with our program over the last 3 years is Jenny Ashley, a junior from Mesquite, Texas. Another junior, Greta Billeback from Roland, Iowa. Another junior, Lindsay Madsen from Great Bend, Kansas. And our lone senior on this year's squad, Mariana Naldi from Livingston, California.
Spike it, Jose.
Again, we thank you for your support and recognition of our teams throughout this year and for years to come, and we look forward to doing this many more times.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
May I say just a couple of things? I'd like to thank Dan Huntley for coming to Brownsville and for being part of our important work here.
May I say something, especially to our volleyball team, but really all the athletes. First and foremost, what a great way to kick off the NAIA and four-year program. But more importantly, I hope that for those of you that never heard of Brownsville, Texas before you got here, or never had been to Brownsville, Texas before you got here, that what you've experienced on this campus has been nothing but, you know, great hopes and help you accomplish whatever your goals are. And that the community as well has met you with a kind of enthusiasm that you've created on this campus. And I just hope that your experience, not only your educational experience, but your athletic and just the community as a whole has been all that your expectations have, that you looked forward to. And I hope it continues. And thank you so much.
Mr. Oliveira is here now, and he also wants to thank you for his...
Yes, I did. I was clapping. I wasn't sure what I was clapping about. I figured it out.
It really has been a wonderful year, Dan. I appreciate it, and all of the coaches, all of the ladies and gentlemen that are playing sports, and that all the Eagle Scouts, and then those of us who want to be Eagle Scouts. But sincerely, you brought a good group of folks to help us learn how to play university ball, and we're all very excited about the synergy that it creates, the energy that it brings to this campus, and we hope that you will be as proud of us as we are of you tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, now the board's going to convene into executive session. Thank you. We're going to reconvene now in regular session. We go to item number 3. We have consideration and possible action on the contract and resolution of purchase of Lot 9, Block 14, Paredes Track addition in Brownsville. The price on that piece of land is $45,000. I ask for a motion to approve the contract and the resolution, so forth. Motion made by Ms. Breedlove.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mr. Dino Spazza. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. The next item on the list is a contract and resolution for the purchase of Lot 10, Block 16, in the Colonia Alta Vista, Brownsville, Texas area, and this is for the price of $30,000. Ask for a motion.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Mr. Campirano.
Second.
Second by Ms. Breedlove and Dr. Robles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. The third item is a contract and a resolution for the purchase of Lot 16, Block 16 in the Colonia Alta Vista subdivision in Brownsville. That is at a cost of $35,000. Motion made by Ms. Zimmerman. Second by Dr. Robles. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? None. Motion carries. We now have a discussion on the River Center property. No? Okay.
No action.
All right. So then we move on to item number 4, which is the approval of the minutes of October the 26th.
Chairman, move to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Campirano, second by Ms. Breedlove. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. So item number 5 are speakers to the agenda items. Mary, do we have any speakers? None. Then item number 6 is a board briefing on the musical performance of Hansel and Gretel by Dr. Dameron. Yes, is that correct?
I could sing, but I think I won't tonight.
He's a poet.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to feature some of our folks in the music program. And on behalf of Interim Dean Ethel Cantu, I would like to ask our Chair of the Fine Arts Department, Professor Suzanne Urbish, to come up and introduce some of her faculty who are taking great leadership in our opera efforts and are taking it to the community off campus as well as on campus. Suzanne?
Thank you, Dr. Dameron. Members of the board, Dr. Garcia, Dr. Martin, thank you so much for this opportunity. The UTB-TSC music program embraces outreach. 23 years ago, we started Patron of the Arts. That's how long that series has been going on. We're up to 70 events a year, reaching out into the community and to the students here on campus. We host band and orchestra all-valley workshops on campus that bring over 400 high school students. In the last 4 years, we've averaged between 300 and 400 high school students from as far away as Roma and Edinburgh, and of course, our immediate community. We provide outreach in guitar programs in Port Isabel to the middle school and high school, to Vela Middle School here in Brownsville. We have violin projects that outreach into the elementary schools, Castañeda and Putinat. We offer scholarships for our music academy for elementary students to participate in the University Children's Chorus. And the Wind Ensemble, Symphony Orchestra, Jazz Band, Master Chorale all perform at high schools from Puebla, Mexico, all the way up to San Antonio, Texas. However, the very first outreach by students in our music program occurred before we ever had a Bachelor of Music program. It occurred when Amy Emo Now, Dr. Garcia, do you remember attending the very first opera performance in the band hall?
With the two big costumes that were draped over our poor little...
Yes. And you know, we only had 8 students at that time. Now we boast close to 30 in the opera company. And I remember it so well because that night, Dr. Garcia, I was playing the piano, and Dr. Garcia was sitting right here. And every time it came to the part in Carmen where I would have to go, bum, bum, I was like, and it made me very nervous. It was really, do you remember? You were right there. But the one thing that I do know you remember is we had over 150 people standing outside, and we had 250 people inside the band hall, standing room only. And I remember when the work study came and said, Dr. Urbish, we can't let any more students. And I said, no, you're going to have to turn them away. I called Amy over, and she said, encore performance next Friday night. We'll put it in the paper. And that's what we did. And we did another performance the next weekend, packed. And let me tell you, that band hall has never seen that many people, ever. It was incredible. But I just had to see if you remembered, Dr. Garcia, because it was really something.
I remember the trip to the Houston Opera.
Yes, and yes, that was wonderful. And in fact, that spurred the development board to sponsor the opera company to get to go see the Magic Flute with the Houston Grand. And you can't imagine how much that inspired our students. Amy Ema Brownlow attended Texas Southmost College, and she holds a bachelor's degree in music education and a master's of music in vocal performance from the University of Texas at Austin. She is a tremendously talented soprano, and she has performed roles in La Bohème, La Noce de Figaro, Don Giovanni, Carmen, and the Magic Flute. She has performed in Italy with the Opera Festival di Roma and with the New York Seagull Colony. And as one reviewer stated, Amy has a world-class sound. But for us, she is also a marvelous teacher. Outstanding, well-known. Since 1998, she has had 15 students place in the finals, 5 of them first places, in the most prestigious vocal competition in the United States, and that is the NATS, the National Association of Teachers of Singing. And what that has done for our students, I want to talk about a couple of students that helped found the Bravo Company, and then I'm going to turn it over and you can hear about Hansel and Gretel. But these students are outstanding educators and performers. Locally, Javier Balboa has become a nationally recognized elementary presenter for ORF, which is elementary music system. And many of you would recognize him if you saw him because he directed the University Children's Chorus for the opening of the Education Building. You may remember that. Well, he was a founding member of the Bravo Opera Company. We also have here in town Jennifer Nim Chan and Joe Alviar, who are making great strides as choral directors and making quite a reputation for themselves. And last summer, one of our graduates, Nephi Sanchez, who is from Los Fresnos, Nephi came here 10 years ago to become a band director. He was an all-state French horn player, got into opera, loved it, discovered he had a tremendous tenor voice, went on to U of H, sang with the Houston Grand. This summer, he competed in the, it's a very prestigious competition. There were over 800 competitors in New York City. He was one of 8 chosen to sing this summer. And actually, he is now assisting Ms. Brownlow and Ms. Sachs with the opera company, and he would be here tonight, except he's doing an audition in New York City, and in the spring, he's going to be singing with the State Opera of Tennessee. So you can see that this has had just an incredible amount of, this opera company has just brought incredible things to us. There are no other opera companies at universities south of San Antonio, and it is just with great pleasure that I introduce them. Ms. Brownlow and our chorus master and costume designer, Ms. Carol Sachs, who holds her degrees from TCU, and incidentally will tonight make her debut as a PowerPoint diva. Anyway, it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you the tremendous teacher and outstanding soprano, the General and Artistic Director of the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera Company, Mrs. Amy Emil Brownlow.
Well, thank you, Dr. Urbish. That was wonderful. I feel really famous. We would like to begin first and foremost with a clip of the prayer duet featuring the two female leads of our production, Hansel and Gretel. You're listening to Erin Wiley and Vicky Camacho. These two extraordinarily talented young ladies sang their roles 5 different times in 3 days while touring, and each performance was flawless. Their voices blend beautifully together, and their stage rapport was clearly outstanding. They also performed the duet in our fall concert in November. Now, good evening, and thank you for inviting the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera to present at this meeting today. It is with great pleasure that I announce that the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera Company is celebrating its 10th year. We began in 1996 and have successfully produced operas for the last 10 years. We have seen quite a number of our students go on to achieve great success in the teaching field, but also we boast several opera career success stories. Nephi Sanchez is maintaining an opera career as well as teaching adjunct here on our campus. Kristen Ezell works and performs in Boston. And Michael Callis is stationed in New York, but travels all over the world performing in opera, concertizing, and has quite an established career at the age of 24. All of these students got their start in the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera Company. Right now, I would like to take the time to introduce to you some members of the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera, all of whom have been involved in the outreach program. I have Erin Wiley. You just heard her singing. Erin Wiley. Ben Barberina. Berta Betancourt. Michael Espinosa. And Alfonso Gonzalez. And they have a few things. And if you all would please go ahead and distribute. We have some DVDs of our Mikado production from last spring and some photos from the outreach and a folder with some letters and things for you to see while we continue our presentation. I'd like to go ahead and show you another video clip, and this features Alfonso Gonzalez, a sophomore music student who will be traveling to San Antonio to compete at the prestigious National Association of Teaching of Singing competition. He shows extraordinary singing talent, and Alfonso played the role of the father in the production. He also sang the aria at the fall concert. Very talented. Outreach, bringing opera to the children of our community. The first important goal of the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera Company is to provide an opera performance class for the university students. The second goal is to provide opera for the youth of Brownsville. When Dr. Suzanne Urbish and I began the company in '96, we had always intended to go out into the schools to teach children about the opera. Our first attempt at outreach began in 1997. Over the next few years, outreach continued to be very successful, but we wanted to take it to the next level. A community member, Jim Zellerbach, began supporting the opera with a yearly donation that helped us get the more elaborate project started. Then, beginning in 2003, George Ramirez and the Brownsville Society of the Performing Arts, along with the city of Brownsville, invited us to put on a production of Hansel and Gretel for a Halloween party to target the Buena Vida neighborhood. It was just what we had been needing, and it was exactly our audience. We called the new outreach idea the Hansel and Gretel Community Outreach. Now, in the fall, in combination with the outreach, we also present a concert version of opera as our fall gala. It is a very tight schedule, but it is well worth it. This fall, we expanded this outreach program to include more elementary and middle schools to which we traveled and performed. Because of the very generous donations received over the years from Mr. Zellerbach and Mr. Ramirez and the BSPA, we could budget necessary accommodations such as sets and props, costumes, truck rental, gas, and meals to take the show out to the public on a grander scale. Thus, we traveled to a number of elementary and middle schools and presented the opera, besides just performing for the city of Brownsville and the Buena Vida neighborhood. The next video clip shows the wonderful reaction the children in response to the opera Hansel and Gretel. The gingerbread house was a new addition to the show this year, and it was very well received, as you will see. What outreach provides for the university students is they are able to travel to the schools, and this traveling was a huge success and is a great way to introduce opera to children who may never have the opportunity to know of this type of music. Also, it allows our university students, who are mostly music education majors, to experience the field. These productions that we do for the schools are fully staged, costumed, and complete with sets and designs. It is a terrific expense, and we have had to save up for many years in order to be able to accomplish this. But now we are able to present the opera with a very nice visual and musical presentation, and the children love it. On the screen, these photos depict the opera as it was presented at Iturria Elementary and Sharp Elementary on October 26th. The university students' main comment following our outreach shows was the joy they felt when they saw and heard the young children's reactions to the opera. I don't think that they were prepared for the effect we would have on the children. I also think that many of them know that they are choosing the right profession in teaching music to our children and the wonderful experience that it can and will be in their future. The next clip allows you to see the sophisticated props that are used on the set. Also, the thrill for the young children to watch the magic broom. Incidentally, my son, who was an audience member, said the boys and girls were talking about the magic broom all day at school, so we had to bring it tonight. So we'd like you all to meet our magic broom. I'm always glad that's Carol Sachs's prop and not mine. What outreach provides for the community? Our goal with opera outreach is to teach children at an early age an appreciation for the fine arts and hopefully spark in them a love for music that can enhance their lives forever. Being introduced to opera opens a whole realm of visual and oral arts to the children. Since opera has somehow become exclusive, many people never experience this amazing art form that dates back to Renaissance times. Many children's operas are based on folk tales that pertain to important life lessons. Many of these folk tales are not taught in the schools, and children grow up never knowing these wonderful tales. Hansel and Gretel is one of these stories. When teachers asked the children how many of them had heard of the story, most did not. Even at the university level, many of my class members had never heard of the tale. Therefore, we are giving not only beautiful music and entertainment, but a piece of history and important literary information. It is also a perfect opportunity for the local school administrators to get to know potential music teachers and see the quality of student we are producing on our campus. These performances also provide a great way for the community of Brownsville to view firsthand the talent we have right here in town. And finally, is a fun and exciting time for all of the students involved in putting on and watching a live performance. So, in conclusion, I would like to mention future plans for the outreach idea. Right now, we are not able to access all the schools. There's just not enough time to go everywhere. Therefore, we hope to make opera more accessible to entire elementary and middle school populations by presenting productions in a large hall that would accommodate large numbers of children. We hope that students could then come to our campus and see the shows as well as get to know our university. We also look forward to creating much more elaborate sets and designs, making use of larger props, backdrops, and more special effects that can only be created in an opera theater. This is a very unique feature to be able to provide for our university as well as our community. Thus, we offer a wonderfully different and highly educational form of entertainment to our public that bring people onto our campus and also showcases the amazing talent that we have here at UTB-TSC. On behalf of the entire music student body, faculty, and staff, but especially the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera Company, I would like to extend a deep and profound thank you to all of you for your vision, your courage, and your support for the new music education building. I will now try to answer any questions that you may have regarding this project and the opera class.
You gave me chills. Okay, I've got some 5-year-olds, and I think this is a wonderful outreach program that you have. And
Thank you.
The music department is fantastic, and we can't wait to have this presentation when we have your new music facility.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
And I know that that Dr. Robles is our cultural guru on the board.
Thank you. I think you said it all, but I think the most important thing here also is the students and how much you're learning, not only from professionals here on campus, but also the experience of having to go out there to the schools and playing for the first time ever in front of children that have never heard an opera, and doing it professionally. And that, we're very proud of you, and I think that you have a great future ahead of you. Just don't forget that if you make it big out there in the world, don't forget your little town here in Brownsville.
Yes.
But thank you, Amy, Dr. Chip Dameron, and Dr. Urbich. You all are fantastic leaders in this area, and we wish you more success. And particularly with this new Performing Arts Center that's coming up.
Yes. Thank you, thank you.
And I just wanted to add that you all are wonderful ambassadors for the university, and you know, we're constantly striving to recruit new students, and I think by catching these kids when they're young, and you made such a huge impression on them. I guarantee you they're going to be thinking about wanting to come to UT Brownsville as soon as they get old enough.
Absolutely,
I
they're our
wanted to
future.
thank you for all the wonderful work you're doing. I was going to leave early because I have another meeting to go to, but I wanted to watch your presentation, and thank you so much for all you do. All of you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to join and say congratulations. A brilliant performance, and what an opportunity for not only you students, but again, the outreach for the children. I will tell you, way back in the 60s when I was in junior high, we had the Seattle Symphony actually came to our campus, and they came then every year, and it's totally different, because I didn't get to go to the Seattle Symphony, but to have opera brought to your own school, or come on to see our new campus and our new facility. Can you imagine? What an opportunity for our own kids, but for you to have a one-on-one, because I'm sure those kids wanted to meet you and talk to you and your autographs. We thank you, and we're proud of you. And it's an exciting time for each and every one of you, we know, and we thank you to have the courage. It's not easy to perform, and it's not easy to follow your heart with that, because a lot of times parents say, we want you you want to be a teacher, we want to be something credible, and music is tough, and congratulations, each and every one of you. Great job, really. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the CD.
Yes, sir. And as soon as we get the DVD of the Hansel and Gretel outreach, I will send those your way as well.
And you obviously made an impact, because not just, I think, this week or very shortly, there was a letter to the editor in the local paper complimenting the staff, the students, the performers, and it was basically praising it. So
wonderful.
Obviously, impact is felt. Was it today? Well, I know it was very recent.
But just because
Start the scrapbook.
7.
I'd like to just mention one thing. Because you never know how things are going to start and end, and you just plant seeds. And the generosity of patrons is so important to this kind of an effort. And this seed, in fact, was planted through the generosity of the President's Circle that came out of money to take a few students to the Houston Opera and to sit there in orchestra seats and get to feel what the opera was like. That evening, as I recall the story, they went back to their hotel, and the hotel happened to have a piano in the lobby. And as I recall, they were so excited about having been in the presence of the Houston Opera that they sang until beyond midnight in the lobby. And it was when they came back that the Bravo Opera Company was established. So a small gift to expose our students. How can you want for it if you've never seen it? And so a small gift sometimes, just taking a student and introducing them to something new like that produces 10 years later extraordinary gift, not to a few students, but to hundreds and hundreds of students. So I have one final word. Bravo.
Thank you. I just want to mention that Berta Betancourt was my elementary music student. Before I started working here, I was an elementary music teacher, and she was one of my students. Wow. And now she's one of my students again.
That's cool. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much for a very enjoyable presentation.
Magic room.
We need all of that data.
Great. All right, Robert? Fantastic, right?
Those Suzanne and
Okay, we're going to now move on to the Student Affairs Partnership Committee report, and that'll be Ms. Zimmerman.
The Student Affairs Partnership Committee convened on November the 27th, 2006. Members present were Dr. Eva Silva, co-chair, Karen Bus Summer, Academic Senate Member Jenny Lucio, Community Member Abraham Bonstead, Student Member and Virginia Ucoli, Community Member. Also present were members of the Executive Council along with Mrs. Rosemary Rizzo, thank you, TSC trustee. Dan Huntley, Athletic Director, reported on the results of the athletic fee referendum. Voting was held for a 2-day period on November the 14th and the 15th at the Education and Business Complex, Student Union, Gardens Hall South, Tanning Hall, and the iTech campus. The referendum was brought to the student body to establish a new fee that will separate the athletic budget from the current student services fee. UTB-TSC students passed their referendum with election results. The total number of votes cast was 2,013. Total number of votes cast in favor, 1,082, which was 53.7%. Total number of votes cast against was 931, which was 46.3%. This $7 per semester credit hour fee will not only allow for the growth in athletics, but it will also make possible with the continued expansion of student support services by increasing the available funds for student services. A committee consisting of students, staff, and faculty will begin the process of identifying the priorities for the use of the increased student services budget. The passage of the referendum allows us to go to the next stage, which is to seek legislative approval. It is important to note that the new fee will be installed in the fall of 2008. Student Government President Abraham Munsley is here, and I invite him to make a few comments if he wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Members of the board, Dr. Garcia, Dr. Martin, thank you for having me. Just to reiterate what Mr. Zimmerman said, earlier in the year, student government did pass a resolution to start up a referendum to present to students on an athletic fee. This athletic fee, as you know, is the $7 per credit hour fee. Personally, I saw this as a win-win for students. You know, as you heard from Director Huntley, the athletic program is growing, they're developing, and they're producing results. And so it was up to the students to support that growth, to keep that growth going on. And the students showed that on the 14th and the 15th. So we're glad that this fee passed. We're glad that athletics is growing, and not only that athletics is developing, but we're giving back to students and returning that money back to student service fees. And we are going to meet with Dr. Silva and make sure that that money is used for students and given back to student service fees. So I'd like to thank, I wish the volleyball girls and the coaches were still here. They did a tremendous job. The athletes came out there with their shirts and showed their support. So I'd like to thank them all. Thank you, Director Huntley, for having the athletes helping us out there. Members of student government, members of other organizations and fraternities were out there helping us. We had a good 2 days of campaigning. It was tough, but we got it passed, and that's why we're here and why we're glad that it did. And just really quick, if I may, on a side note, student government, something we're undertaking right now is for the very first time we're introducing legislation at the Capitol for tax-free textbooks. This hasn't been done for tax-free textbooks. This hasn't been done in quite a while, or not done at all. I've been going up in the month of November. I've traveled 3 times out of the 4 weeks in November. I've been up to Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. And this is all the cause for getting our feet wet, pretty much, going to the legislature and campaigning or advocating for tax-free textbooks. This is something that would affect all Texas students, not just the UT system schools. And we're really hoping to get this passed in the spring. We will start the initiative of going out there and being in front of our bookstore and informing students of what it is. And it might be something small, but it's it's the start to a bigger step of being up there and getting our student government, our student body involved at the state level and not just here on campus. So I'd like to thank you for having me. If you have any questions, feel free. And if that's it, that concludes my report.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think that one of the most important things that I believe that the mission ought to be, after all this money that's been spent on athletic fees and all that, is that you work hard at instilling lifelong love for exercise, because Hispanics have one of the highest rates of diabetes and heart disease, and it's taken its toll on that population, but not only on the Hispanic population, but others as well, but in particular the Hispanic population. So you have a big job ahead of you, and I hope that this money is put to good use and it's used for that, so that the students really understand the importance of exercise
Well, to respond to that, sir, the money that is freed up in the student service fee will also go to programming and provide for more intramural sports like flag football, soccer, volleyball, baseball, and all those interactive sports students can participate in. So that'll definitely be in our agenda.
Do you have any idea how this athletic fee will impact scholarships on our campus? Mr. Huntley, are you?
As far as athletics, we will be able to move our current funding of our program, our current programs that we have. We're projecting right now to increase a certain percentage. I'm not sure what it'll be at this point. We haven't gone through and exactly pinpointed all of our budget for 2 years from now that we know that it's there. If we do decide to add more athletic teams, as we look at that adjustment also, that will mean more scholarships for students on campus also for athletes. And I know that some of the talk within the student affairs area is also to help increase some scholarships through student initiatives and employment programs that way also are possibilities.
Good. Thank you, sir.
This is going to free up about $1.2 million of currently student services fees that are currently funding athletics. We are going to take some time to study what our priorities should be. Some of the things that are successful, that we know are successful, are the money that we spend in creating jobs on campus. That still remains an issue, so perhaps we can use some of this money for additional jobs on campus. So we're going to go back to, you may recall, our Futures Commission work some years back, where we had a Student Life Futures Commission task force that looked at what should student life be for a campus of 20,000. Well, it's time to go back to that document. And I'm real pleased to say that of the top 10, we had a top 10 list of priorities. We're working towards 9. We have 4 of those completed, but the bond is allowing us to work towards those other 9 of those top 10. The only thing that's missing, that Scorpion Monument, Dr. Garcia. But we will we will revisit that list and start from there. But it's going to include faculty and staff and students, and we have to be. I could spend $1.2 million quickly. There's no question. But we have to be, like Dr. Robles says, we have to be very careful in laying out our priorities and looking at. Fees are difficult, and I understand that, and I certainly appreciate your support in letting us go forth with the referendum and let the students vote, and they did. And it is now up to us to kind of look at what their priorities are and make some decisions for 2008, what our tuition is going to look like and how we're going to spend this money. So I appreciate your support.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Silva. Ms. Rila?
Sure. Yeah, again, I don't think any of us like to see, and I know none of us do, like to see anything go up for our students because we are the poorest county in the United States of America. But the students did vote for this. They want better things. They want more opportunities. And so we congratulate you for going out and making that effort. And Abraham, great job. Very good job, and we're really proud of you that you're making this huge effort for the tax-free textbooks. Congratulations, good job. It's a grassroots thing and a real learning experience. Thank you for doing that. Thank you so much.
I'd like to compliment Abraham also. I had an opportunity to meet Abraham when he was running for his position. And I'm not sure that you understood what the responsibilities were as president of student government, but I can see that you've tackled your responsibilities and you're a strong representative for the students of this institution. And I want to congratulate you also and encourage you to continue making those contacts in Austin because we're going to need them on many more issues. So we look forward to working with you, Abraham.
Thank you so very much. So,
Mr. Chair.
yes.
No action is required by the TSC board at this time. The committee also received an update on student housing and interviewed architects to begin planning for new student housing. Mrs. Breedlove attended the Student Affairs Partnership Committee meeting on Tuesday, and I would like to ask her to report on the committee meeting, please.
Thank you, Dolly, very much. As you heard, Dolly had mentioned that we are in the early stages of planning for new student housing. I'd like to ask Rosemary Martinez to provide us with a review and update of the activities that have taken place regarding student housing. It's been going on over some years here, and we've all heard about it. So if you would help us out, Rosemary, and remind us of what we've been through.
Thank you, Mrs. Breedlove. Somebody dim the lights? There we go. I wanted to take just a few moments to overview where we've been with student housing. It seems like just yesterday, but time flies on this campus. And it's actually been 4 years since we ventured into the business of student housing with the acquisition of the 2 hotels, the Holiday Inn and the Ramada. At that time, we retrofitted the Holiday Inn to make available 232 beds for students on this campus for housing for the very first time. At that same time, you all retained the firm of Anderson Strickler, their housing consultants well known throughout the country, to evaluate and report back to us what the demand for housing was at that time. They reported back that there was a need to have 600 beds available for students, and the hotels were providing 232 beds. In the spring of 2003, we opened housing. We weren't quite at capacity. That was the spring semester. We had a big party. Some of you all helped students move in. We were quickly, in the fall of that same year of 2003, we were at capacity and have been at capacity since then. So the need for additional housing and additional beds on this campus has been a situation that has existed for quite some time. In the fall of 2005, we again asked Anderson Strickler to update the 2002 plan. They were specifically tasked to confirm the 600-bed number that they had given us in the fall of 2002. And in fact, what they reported out to us through the use of focus groups and interviews and surveys was that the demand was actually 800 beds for this campus. And so in this fall, actually just a couple of weeks ago, we added the project, and I want to say the project because it hasn't been designed or anything, but just the notion of adding additional housing to our capital improvements plan. And the hope would be that we can get through all of the planning and design to have housing available in the fall of 2008. And now I'd like to ask Dr. Moore, or Mrs. Breedlove to continue this report.
Certainly.
I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have one question, I guess. Just I know that we had in the report on the campus projects that we received in September, when we talked about how we were going to allocate the taxes, the tax maintenance notes, and set the budget. There was a $17 million figure in that proposal. Did that number or the estimate come from the report or the update of the study? Is that how that figure was arrived at?
Some of it did, Mr. Campirano. The Anderson Strickler study included the development of financing options and pro formas. And given the demand number that was developed, they recommended to us that we do housing in 2 phases. The demand was 800. They recommended that we go out and over time do a 2-phase, 400-bed projects, because that would allow us to add housing, keep students that are currently in housing in a facility. At some point, we may consider raising the existing structure, so you have to have somewhere to move students. Based on the 400 beds then, they backed into how much money it would cost, approximated how much money it would cost. Now, the study is a year old, I have to tell you, though, and we all know, you all know, because you've been dealing with all these other projects, that construction numbers have increased over time. And so that $17 million did come from the Anderson Strickler study. It is an auxiliary enterprise. So auxiliary enterprises are funded through the revenues that they generate. So no tax dollars or general revenue would be pledged to secure the funding for this project. It is self-supporting. I'll be happy to answer any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Rosemary. The campus master plan guided the choice of the proposal site. Okay, there we go. At the Peninsula. And the board previously approved the demolition of the Old Ramada Inn to provide space for the new student housing. Broadus and Associates is now working with the Campus Advisory Committee to program the new facility. The next step in the planning stages is to select an architect so that we can begin the schematic design. Staff solicited proposals and 8 firms responded. The proposals were reviewed by a committee to select a short list of firms for interviews. 3 firms were interviewed at the Student Affairs Partnership Committee held on Tuesday. All 3 firms made interesting presentations. It was a good day. It was very good. After the presentation, Richard De Leon led the committee in a discussion of each presentation. The committee reached a consensus that Kirksey Architects from Houston would serve as the housing project architect. Once negotiations are complete and architects are hired, the next step is to begin the schematic design. The architects will work with the Campus Advisory Committee to develop schematics. Upon completion of the schematic design and review by the Student Affairs Partnership Committee, the TSC board will review schematic design plans to approve the site, building elevations, what the facility will look like, and to ensure that the needs of the user groups have been addressed as well as having met the TSC board design guidelines. We were all impressed with the firm's interests and qualifications, as each one has extensive experience in housing projects and were highly qualified. It was also pleasing to see the participation from students, faculty, staff, and community representation. Mr. Chairman, no action is required on this item, but I do invite board members for questions or comments.
Great project. I trust that you've done the best that you could, and I'm particularly impressed with the Kirksey group, in which they have already established a reputation for green facilities.
Yes.
And I think that, in my opinion, that was the right choice. So thank you for looking after our campus and looking for the future and this type of facilities.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be there, and it was exciting because everyone presented a good program. They did. Each one had an hour to present, but they were really the best, and that was a real plus, the green, and we all had questions about green, and I think we as board members and I think the campus in general could use some greening. I think we really need to go that way. I know it's more costly, and where we can get into that now with all these new buildings that we're going into, I think it's really important that we start addressing those, that green issue. And they are, obviously, they presented a booklet that they have, and they're working very diligently, and they've greened a lot of buildings in Houston. Dr. Garcia, if you have any comments, they were very good. We chatted a lot with them about just interest in that portion, but we haven't even gotten there yet. It was just interesting conversation. So thank you.
I guess my questions are really directed to Rosemary. When we talk about the financing, is that this would obviously be a revenue bond, but and at phase 1, at what point in time would we be, I guess, would it depend on the success of the first phase, how quickly we'd have an ability to move on to phase 2? And in that, I guess you'd have to plan for the transition of, because in all likelihood, I would imagine that we'd look to, you mentioned raising the existing facility, and probably that makes a lot of sense in that regard. So we would phase it in. We'd have to accommodate the, 200 beds that we have?
232 beds.
232
yes.
beds in the new facility?
Yes.
Remember,
or some combination, possibly.
Okay.
May I respond also? Remember that we really do have so many different options on this one, and we've just begun to explore them, but we have another site that the master plan guides us to on the peninsula, and that's where the former Resaca
Club
Club was. And so it
That's,
might be that
David's Hall of Fame over there.
without having to raise the current housing, you could begin to build phase 2 there, and then actually be adding to it all the time. So we're just going to try to be smart about how we acquire housing and make sure that the biggest concern we have, frankly, right now is can we build housing that is respectful of our students, that is respectful of the campus architecture, and affordable all at the same time. And that's very hard, given the nature of our population and the difficulty students will have paying for even minimal rents. So what we are looking at is a model that helps generate subsidy in revenue that would help offset some of the student costs. So perhaps a mixed-use retail space where the rents from that retail space would go towards subsidizing the students' costs. We think that's very, very smart to do. Lots of universities are not doing that yet. Some are, and so we're trying to learn from those that have had to do that, and we'll keep you informed as we learn along the way and seek your advice, because this is a brand new arena for us.
Mr. Chairman, may I say that you were well represented. There were lots of questions about just that. Is it feasible? And it will be a lot. They'll do a lot of study, I know, and who would be those retails, and you know what can the students afford. They were even the architects. I mean, obviously they've had those questions. That's what they do. They build housing. So it was really interesting discussion with them. They are open and they want to work with us.
Well,
So
you know,
it is
400 beds are going to need other support services along those lines
Absolutely.
too. So, and you know, actually you have room at the peninsula to potentially
Absolutely.
do housing and some kind of retail development that wouldn't necessarily take away from an existing project. What is just without, I know it's hard to pinpoint and we're just in the development discussion phase, but what kind of timeline are we headed on in this regard?
We're hoping to have a construction completion date of fall 2008. So the timeline is pretty aggressive and accelerated. And some of the projects that the architects that were presented did fast track the projects. And so we're hoping to 12 to 15 months of construction and start some design to get this done. During that time frame, the projects that were presented included that mixed use, and so we're going to be visiting with those campuses, Mr. Campidano, to understand how they're using that mix to help the pro forma, because these projects are standalone and self-sustaining, and so obviously any revenue we can generate from other resources will help the student end, and that's the goal here, to try to minimize the impact to students.
Now, the 17 million, is that construction or is that actual, turnkey project costs, including?
It's total project costs.
Okay, so that would be the furnishings and all
Yes.
that goes with that.
Yes.
Okay,
Let me,
turnkey.
if I mention one more thing. When we were at the UT system seeking permission to put this on our capital improvement plan, the item that was next to us on the agenda was UT Dallas, also for construction of new dorms. For less dorms space, that is less beds, 350, not 400, for a total project cost of $37 million. So it is a challenge when you have to consider what your students can afford and what you want to build on your campus.
And in fact, a 400-bed project at Tyler is coming up at $34 million. So some of the costs are associated with the kind of facility that you want to build, whether you want to build the traditional type of student housing versus something that might be a little bit more affordable. And so all of those things will be evaluated as part of the project planning and design.
Last comment I'd like to make, I'm glad that we're pursuing it as a project of the university versus going out and doing third party with, build it to last as long as the financing is there and then you get it back after that period, whether it's 20, 30 years. So I think this approach, in my opinion, is a more favorable approach, that you can control the quality of construction, the amenities, and certainly I think that's important from the user perspective of having greater input in what you're going to do than to turning it over to a construction company to come do it for you and then run it and then say, hey, after 20 years we give it back to you. So I'm glad we're
And we did evaluate that as part of some of the internal due diligence that we did. We evaluated whether we would own, operate, manage our own facility, and in the end, Mr. Campirano, that's what we concluded. So
I'm sure Vince is up to it.
I'm happy to hear that.
One final comment, and that is the changing nature of our student body. You saw that a little bit tonight in the volleyball team, and you'll see it continue in some of the other programs as you get to meet our students and get to know them. The nature of the degree programs that we are adding, the amount of activities that we are supporting, whether it's opera or soccer next year or volleyball this year, often is determined by the kind of student that will live here. And so every time we try to recruit a music student, the first thing, of course, is the department itself. The facilities that you have to practice in, the equipment that you're going to have to use as a student. But one of the questions inevitably is there a place for me to live? And so far we've been very limited in what we've been able to say to students. So whether you're a music recruit, physics recruit, chess recruit, Scorpion Scholar recruit, recruitment, an athlete, all of those become recruitment with housing is key to this. The other part is that, remember, we are scheduled, Dr. Stockton, to start our Math and Science Academy this next fall. That means we'll have 11th and 12th graders on campus in a Math and Science Academy, not in residence, but at this academy. When they graduate, they might want a place to live in a learning community. And we've learned through the research that learning communities that engage students of similar interest aid retention and graduation. So we might be ready with this housing at just about the time that our first class graduates. And it would be a nice transition for them from home now to in the community environment, but not yet flying out of the nest. So many features are part of building the university and evolving it to the next stages. And just tonight, we've seen a tremendous representative sample of the many pieces that must fit together.
Mr. Chairman, may I make one more comment? Vince Solis. I was able to sit next to him during that committee meeting, and I'm very impressed. He asked great questions. He didn't miss a thing, and thank you very much. And I know he'll be on the committee when all of this is going on. Thank you. You're doing a great job. I thank you so much. Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Thank
Please
you.
report. Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman and Ms. Breedlove. We move on to the Academic Affairs Partnership Committee report, which is Ms. Breedlove.
Right. The Academic Affairs Partnership Committee met last night, November 29th, 2006. Members present were Dr. Charles Dameron, Mr. Dino Esparza, Ms. Yahira Fuentes, our student, Mr. Juan Miguel Gonzalez, Dr. David Pearson, and myself, and our chairman also. And I was very appreciative that our chairman came along and joined us for that meeting. And I think he was very impressed
with the work that went on in this committee.
It was a long meeting, but there was so much, and you'll hear. I'll shut up and read my report. Ms. Linda Fossen, Associate Vice President for Enrollment Planning, provided an update on enrollment. She reported that the headcount enrollment for the fall of 2006 was 15,831 students, an increase of the biggest increase we've ever had, 18.89% since at least 91 when we became partners with UTB-TSC. 18.89% compared to the fall of 2005. Credit hours also increased by 10% over fall of 2005. Dual enrollment credit hours increased by 113.87%, with dual student headcount increasing over 4,303 students in the fall of 2006 compared to 2012 in the fall of 2005. Tremendous. UTB-TSC was among the fastest growing post-secondary schools in the state this fall. Spring enrollments have begun and are currently tackling ahead of the last spring at this time. It really is exciting to see this increase in dual enrollment. Dr. Carl Stockton, Dean of the School of Education, and Dr. Steve Rosales reported on the new Math and Science Academy at UTB-TSC, which was established by the legislature last year. The Math and Science Academy is a systematic initiative that focuses on increasing student achievement and students' learning needs through teacher training, curriculum development, and science labs. It's directed at the high school students who are high achievers and interested in math and sciences. The students will be taught by our faculty on campus. The academy is expected to serve 80 students and will target a student population who is traditionally underrepresented in mathematics and science careers. And I think what they'll start out, what they told us, we'll start out initially with about 35 students. And I know we will be inundated. So it's really going to be tough choosing these. Upon completion of 2 years in the Math and Science Academy, students will be graduating with a high school diploma issued by UTB-TSC, as well as 60 or more hours towards an associate degree. This academy shares a close relationship with our dual enrollment program that we have with high schools. Ms. Yahira Fuentes, the student representative on the SAPC, shared her experiences with dual enrollment students, and we asked her, our chairman was very quick to invite her to come this evening. She, again, takes her time and spends on that committee, and we appreciate it very much, but the chairman was very quick to invite her to come to this meeting and share with you tonight. So, Ms. Fuentes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me tonight. I just wanted to share my experience as far as with the dual enrollment program. I'm very supportive and very excited to hear about the new program with the science and mathematics. I myself was able to graduate from Hannah High School with at least 24 hours just from the dual enrollment plus AP hours. And now, being 20, I will be able to receive my bachelor's degree in biology pre-med next May. So it means in 2.5 years about I'll be able to finish my bachelor's, and that's what I'm hoping to set the example for my cousins, which are currently juniors, and one sophomore who are currently also taking dual enrollment classes at their respective high schools. I have seen the effort that Ms. Watson and Youth Student Relations have done to provide for the students, to give all this information, and I think they've done a great job at trying to increase the amount of students that are currently taking dual enrollment classes. I don't know if there's any questions or
I just want to take a moment just to say that I personally asked Ms. Fuentes to give us some time so that away from her studies, just to emphasize that at times the board hears about percentages and increases and numbers, and sometimes we don't see the product, the student itself who has part of that statistical information. And just to hear Yahira last night tell the committee that she completed 24 college credit hours while in high school. It's got to be something that we should all be very proud of her for her achievement and for the dual enrollment program that's in place. To hear her again give her testimony tonight that she will complete her studies in college in, what, is it 2.5 years, dear?
Yes, that's
and
correct.
Then continue on her track to perhaps becoming a doctor?
Yeah, medical school.
Medical school? I mean, what a success this program is. And when you take this a little bit step further in that you realize that this Science and Math Academy is going to be allowing us to have juniors and seniors to come to our campus and study math and science, to alleviate the shortage that is now being met in the math and science industries because of retirement and people get old, and to understand that they will be able to be taught on our campus and receive a high school diploma by our institution without having to go to another, i.e. Med High up the valley and do this in Brownsville. So I thank you, Ahita, for your graciousness in being here tonight. And I want to say that your parents must be very, very proud of you. And I want you to look at this man here because he's your future. He's a man that you're going to replace when you become a doctor. And we talk about sustained leadership. This is what it's all about. So, not to say that Dr. Opus is going to retire anytime soon, because he's my doctor, but it is, at one point, Dr. Opus had aspirations to be a physician. He has accomplished that. We know and we see that your goals are going to be also accomplished. And I congratulate you and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Mr. Chairman, may I say one other thing about Ms. Fuentes? Obviously, we're impressed by her, but did you hear her talk about the opportunities for her cousins? Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, that, and for all the others to follow, we thank you very much. She's not just looking after herself, but the rest of her cousins and everybody else here. The opportunities are great, and thank you for mentioning that. We are very proud of you and good luck, and we wish you only the best.
Mr. Chairman.
And thank you for
sharing. Ms. Fuentes, I would also like to invite you at any time if you want to see an open heart surgery or see us working in the office or whatever you would like. We'll be there for you. So. Well, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so.
You know, there's a theme tonight, and I don't think it was even planned, but we had the athletes, and we've had the musicians, and we've had the academic, and it's just wonderful how it is all kind of interwoven, and just come together, and it's becoming. It was a very good place to begin with. It is becoming an institution of really high performance, and I'm so proud to be part of this, and because of people like you and our musicians and our board. It's just, I think we're going to stop and take a pat, because this is great. This is proof that we're doing it. So.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay.
Wow.
Dr. Robles, I'd like to see an open heart surgery.
As long as it's not mine.
No, as long as first, take your own pulse.
Okay. I know, I probably won't pass the screening, okay.
Did you graduate from college in 2.5 years? Can't do it. Can't do it.
3.5, okay. We didn't have dual enrollment, wait a minute.
Oh, this is great.
All right,
Congratulations.
Mr. Chairman, we have a few more things that we haven't finished. No. It's great. But it continues to be great. Dr. Charles Lackey, Dean Graduate Studies, presented information regarding the status of graduate programs at UTB-TSC, and it is really exciting. He reported that we currently have 3 degrees awaiting approval by the coordinating board: Master of Music in Music Education, Master of Arts in History, and a Doctor of Education in Curriculum and Instruction. SAC's approval to offer doctoral degrees must be obtained before coordinating board will consider approving the doctorate in education. The steps that we have to take. SAC's approval is expected at the December 2006 meeting, with board approval expected with coordinating board approval expected at the July 2007 meeting. The first doctoral cohort of 15 students should begin in the fall of 2007. A preliminary planning request for a Doctor of Biomedical Science is in the draft stage. Lots of exciting things happening. Dr. Charles Dameron reported on 2 accreditations for the School of Health Sciences. Initial accreditation was awarded to the Emergency Medical Technology Program by the Commission on Accreditation of Allied Health Education Programs. It is now among only 14 programs in Texas and the only program south of San Antonio to have gained national accreditation. Kudos. Thank you so much. Continued accreditation of the Associate Degree Nursing Program. National League of Nursing Accreditation Commission will be recommended continuing accreditation of the ADN program. We're doing a great job. After several further activities and steps of approval procedure, an 8-year accreditation by the National League of Nursing should be forthcoming next summer. Congratulations. And not last but not least, Dr. Eli Pena reported on the SACS process. And I know he's been working really hard on this for quite a number of months, trying to get this doctoral passed and approved. He reported on his work, and it was underway to prepare for the off-site review in November of 2007, and the on-site team visit in April 8th through the 10th in 2008. 4 of the main areas that they will be reviewing are institutional compliance, quality enhancement planning, institutional level change, and that's substantive change due to the request to offer now for us our first doctoral degree, and Virtual College of Texas, which we are among, consists of 33 community colleges. Reaffirmation of accreditation should be announced in December of 2008. Thank you, Dr. Pena, for your hard work. We appreciate it very much. Any questions?
I would just like to comment on the doctorate, because that, it is, again, a sense of history, a sense of important moment to have gone before the Board of Regents and to have gotten from them permission to move forward to SACS and to the coordinating board. It took an awful lot of work from many, many members of the faculty, administrators, and a tremendous amount of faith in what we could produce. We are very confident that we will continue along this path successfully. And then one comment about the School of Health Sciences and their accreditation. Those are very difficult, as you mentioned, accreditation processes to go through, whether it's maintaining a very good one, having it extended to an 8-year one by the National League of Nurses, or having become one of the only ones south of San Antonio in the medical emergency technology program to be accredited. Each of those are seminal moments, and as you know, part of our strategy here was to get all of programs nationally accredited. Wherever there was a certification or registration or a national accreditation available, to march toward that for every one of our programs. And so having succeeded at that is extraordinary. So I want to thank the faculty, thank the department chairs, the dean's leadership, and the vice presidents and the provosts who marched diligently and successfully. Thank you.
May I make another comment? I'm sorry. We're always having community members call and say, why don't we offer a doctorate, or why don't we offer this, and why don't we offer that? And I want you all to know that, we understand, we sit on these committees and we understand it is a process and it does take time, but we appreciate what you do because it takes lots of time and lots of coordination. As we see, you're presenting one thing and you're working on 3 other parts of it, so when that does go through, you can work on the next portion, and we see that, and we all appreciate it, and we give you kudos for that, and we thank you, and we hope the community knows that we're trying to get them as fast as we can, but we want the best of the best for our community. And I know you all, and faculty, administration, everyone is working towards that goal, and we thank you.
I'd like to follow up on some of the comments and discussion related to the doctoral program as well. Unfortunately, we can only service 15 students, and while it's a great accomplishment, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Stockton, but I think you informed us that you've received not necessarily applications, but over 100 people have expressed interest in this program that we're only going to be able to serve or offer to 15 students. So,
as of today, we've had 110 requests for the program. As I said, as of today, we have 110 requests to be put on a list so that when we are allowed to formally advertise for the program that we can send out the information. The program will allow 15 students per year to enter the program. Over 5 years, we will project between 63 and about 65 students in the program, and of course there's some attrition there. With that comes a price tag of about $2.6 million, but we hope to generate about $3.6 million over 5 years. We can add more students to the program, but obviously, like anything else, it costs, so we'd have to add more faculty. There are certain stipulations that allow so many faculty to chair so many dissertations, and so there's a lot of formulas that are in there, but at full capacity over 5 years, we'll be somewhere between 63 and 65 students. The demand is out there, and we're going to be turning some students down who are very qualified, but we hope to have a plan to be able to say, well, if you're not admitted the first year, that you could be on the list and be admitted for the second cohort or the third cohort. So we've thought that process out. But yes, we will be turning down some quality students, and maybe we can add some more doctoral programs. Who knows?
We hope this is just the beginning.
Thank you.
Another really interesting stat. You mentioned how excited you were that the chairman showed up to the meeting. Well, I can tell you, I was sitting next to him, and he was excited to be there because as you were going through all the statistics that reflect how quickly we're growing, one of the statistics that you didn't mention that our chairman pointed out was our projected growth of 20,000 in 2010. Elbowed me right in the, hey, we're going to shatter our goal of 20,000 in 2010, and at this rate, Mr. Chairman, we're well on our way.
Thank you, Dean. Ouch.
It wasn't that hard.
Just a jab. So thank you, Ms. Rita, for your report. Item number 9 is the Business Affairs Partnership Committee, and that will be Mr. Campirano.
Nothing exciting to report as in the student affairs. Very few people get all excited about budget amendments. Somehow or other, this board thinks that I do, so I get stuck with this committee. Nonetheless, we did have the Business Affairs Partnership Committee met on Monday, November the 20th. One comment I have to make, and I was taking note, and Abraham, is he still here, Ponce? Or did he leave? Well, I'll mention it anyway. Well, he's on this committee as well, and he attends, and he participates. So, I mean, in between the committee on participating in the housing, the election, I think I had Student Affairs Partnership, trips to Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. I mean, he's a busy young man, and he does, whatever he does, he represents this institution. More importantly, he does represent the student voice very, very effectively and very well, and I wanted to certainly comment on that as well. We did have action items. We had 2 budget amendments. The first budget amendment was a consideration of amending the prior fiscal year budget, the 2006 TSC budget. And the budget amendment 06017 was to adjust for the ITech thermal plant expenses from the maintenance tax notes in the amount of $921,068, and also to adjust for the proceeds from the 2006 revenue refunding and improvement bonds in the amount of $2,525,000. If you recall, one of them is essentially is that maintenance tax notes can only be used for repairs, and we made those allocations, and a portion of that goes from last fiscal year. And then this amendment recognizes the revenues from the bond proceeds on the refinancing of that revenue bond issue. So both of these were action items that were presented. The committee recommends, and I would move to approve the TSC budget amendments for fiscal year 2006 as presented.
Motion has been made by Mr. Campirano. Second by Ms. Zimmerman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Motion carries.
The second item that we had for consideration was the amendment to the current fiscal year budget, 2007. The first amendment was Budget Amendment 07001, and is to record the rollover from fiscal year 2006 of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Grant in the amount of $467,000, and to record the rollover from the fiscal year 2006 expenditures for the College Park in the amount of $934,000. This is the grant that we received in association with the City of Brownsville for University Park. And so we basically rolling over both recognizing the revenue and the combined expense, because if you recall, it is a dollar-for-dollar match. So you have $934,000. The second amendment to the current fiscal year budget was Budget Amendment 07002, and that is to adjust for the ITech thermal plant expenses for the maintenance tax notes as approved in the September 14, 2006 Board of Trustees meeting in the amount of $2,399,342. Also to adjust for the capital improvement expenses from the maintenance tax notes as approved again in the September 14th Board of Trustees meeting in the amount of $2,618,590, and to adjust for historical renovation expenses from maintenance tax notes as approved in the September 14th Board of Trustees meeting in the amount of $475,000. That meeting, we allocated the funds, so what we're doing with these budget amendments is now recording them in the budget. The committee recommends, and I would approve, the TSC budget amendments for fiscal year 2007 as presented.
Motion has been made by Mr. Campirano.
I'll second the motion.
By Dr. Robles, Mr. Esparza. All in favor?
Aye.
And
All opposed? None. Motion carries.
And our committee meeting was topped off with a tremendous report by Dr. Moore, who gave us an update on the bond projects. And that's going to cost you 2 beers, by the way. But nonetheless, Dr. Moore, thank you very much. That concludes my report.
Irish beers, of course.
2 Irish beers.
Green beer.
From Ireland.
Thank you, Mr. Campirano, for a very exciting report.
I can see I can just see the thrill in your voice, Mr. Chairman.
Item number 10, construction report with Dr. Moore.
Well, I'm in a bad place this evening following all the students and the athletes and all of that. It's a hard act to follow. Great act, hard act. Pedestrian bridge from the campus to the housing area is underway. It will be finished when you come back from Christmas holidays. You can see that the pilings are already being driven and measured and sawed off, and Dr. Martin went out to inspect the other day, and he moved it about 3 feet, Dr. Garcia, and so I don't know what's going to happen. The Leitner Center is also under construction by our physical plant crew. This will house advising. We hired lots of new advisors this year, and we're converting that into an advising center, and that project is well underway. The physical plant entrance, this is probably the last time we'll be viewing this, as we're about 98% complete. This road and parking was required because we are using up the space with the current road because of the rec center construction. It displaced our access to the physical plant. So this will provide parking for that group and for our campus vehicles. We've planted those trees you saw last month that were in boxes. Those have been planted. We're going to be putting in some grass. We have a few bricks. We were a few bricks short. That's not a joke.
No comment.
Anyway, I'll go on. It's been a long night. The Krager house, you can see, is looking better and better. It's got some paint on it. The flashings have all been replaced. The roofing has been reworked. New windows have been installed. The railing around the balcony on the outside has been installed, and it's looking better and better and better. And we're doing infrastructure work inside. This is Johnny's work here. And you can see that we're also doing some work on the inside. That'll be the next phase of the renovation of the Krager house. If you have any questions, be glad to answer it. Things are exciting on campus, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Okay, and then we now move to the President's report. Dr. Garcia?
I have only one item on the report, and that is commencement. Commencement is scheduled to be the largest ever at this university. Preliminarily, This is an extraordinary number, really. It is 1,260 students are candidates for graduation. We are going to be outside on December the 16th. It is a Saturday at 10 a.m. It will not be freezing. However, if it is cold and raining, we will make the decision within sometime late that week, and we will have staggered graduations at Jacob Brown. We'll need 4 ceremonies because of the total number of students and guests, and you'll get that schedule. So just be prepared to stay with us on Saturday. Hopefully it'll be a beautiful day, and either way, whether it's inside or outside, it's going to be a beautiful day. Dr. Lupita Quintanilla, who was named by you as our distinguished alum, will be our speaker. She's a marvelous person, and she's a tremendous speaker. So it's going to be, we'll see how she is when she has to give it 4 times. But she'll be great once or 4 times. So we look forward to having you all participate in our commencement.
Must be a record. Right? Sure, right? Thank you, Garcia. In a good way, I say that, okay? Oops.
Yet another record.
Okay. Proposed meetings for the Board of Trustees are as follows. Thursday, December 21, on Friday the 12th, and possibly the 13th, the board will have a workshop. And then on February 1, March 1, April 26, May 31, and June 21, and of course, no meeting in July. The Partnership Advisory Committee will meet on the 7th and 8th of February, and those are the dates for the board. And this is, we have announcements now. Ms. Reedlock has the announcement.
One more thing. We have a Resaca Readers Book Club with our Barnes & Noble University Bookstore, and we're really thrilled. We have our first book bag here, and we had, a couple of weeks ago, just before Thanksgiving, we had 1776 was our book, and that was by David McCullough, our distinguished lecturer. We had about 25 people attend, and everyone was really excited. It was very well done. I wasn't there, I apologize. But they had a lot of enthusiasm. And the next meeting will be December 12th, and they're reading The Innocent Man, John Grisham's new bestseller. So please join us at the Barnes & Noble University Bookstore on campus, December 12th at 1 p.m., and we'll be discussing this, and we're really excited about it. And also, pick up your book bag. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, to the board members, Dr. Garcia, of course, the staff and students, everyone, hey, have a wonderful and happy and most importantly, safe holiday season. And thank you all for the wonderful work you do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday, Ms. Zimmerman, belated. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.